IMI got involved in the process because building information modeling has really become the standard for the industry. Other materials are out there, and we felt that for masonry not to be left behind, we needed to start to move to the forefront of developing building information modeling for masonry. The construction process has really changed, and today it's much less about design, bid, build, and more into integrated project delivery, more collaborative, working with the construction manager and developers up front. And we think that gives our contractors a competitive edge if masonry has a role in the building information modeling system. For BAC members, this really gives an opportunity for, number one, more jobs. Number two, it also creates the potential for a much safer building job site, and also fewer problems on the job site with the clash detection and other benefits that BIM provides. This could rapidly speed along the construction process, which is going to benefit all concerned, craft workers and contractors. BIM for masonry isn't going to happen overnight, first of all. Secondly, we're going to be providing education as we're developing the system. Education for contractors, education for craft workers. So they'll be more familiar with the systems that we're developing and how to use those in planning stages as well as on the job site. And again, that's going to benefit all concerned.
Well, it's pretty simple. If we don't, we're not going to see our products used anymore. BIM is going to be the system of choice for building new buildings. We need masonry to be a part of that, so we have to get behind BIM or we're going to become obsolete. But from what I see, it's going to really help us with understanding what's going into the project, all the components, how masonry fits in with the other components of the project. And it's also going to give us a graphic picture of, what we have, so it's going to help us not miss things that might get missed, or it's going to give us a better understanding, what exactly it's going to take to complete the project.
The BIM system helps the contractor understand the building much better before we start the actual construction. It helps us understand the curves and the elevations, and it gives us information at our fingertips we never had before. Also with the BIM modeling, we're going to be able to also supply all the logistics within that model, the scaffolding systems and the storage locations, which will help a contractor execute the construction of the building. For a contractor to turn their back on BIM is to not looking ahead to the future, because BIM is the future, and with architecture, 3D modeling, it is happening in the field today, and it will be prevalent in the very near future in our industry. And you have to be prepared to, utilize the tools that are given us. When I think about BIM and what the future holds, I'm excited because I'm not sure what all is available. I've utilized BIM on one project in the last 20 years, and what we were able to do with it, and that was in its infancy, was amazing. I can't imagine what we're going to be able to do 5 years from now with the BIM models, as far as logistics, and as far as assisting us in laying out a building, as far as assisting us in the amount of materials required. I mean, it's really amazing what's going to happen in the future. I think the most important aspect of the BIM coalition is giving the architects the tools to design more masonry within those systems. If we don't step up and supply this information to the architects and designers, we're going to sit and watch our industry become passé. We have to be the leader in BIM. We have to give the architects and designers the tools necessary to utilize our superior products.
Well, I think we're at a very interesting stage in the construction industry. I think the combination of digital, technological, and economic change is coming at us all at the same time, and it's very important that we raise the level of performance of both our employers, contractors, and our members, everybody involved in the industry, and take it all to a whole other level. Well, I think if we leave it to architects and engineers and owners to design the whole process, and we don't engage in it, we won't get what we need out of the process. It's important that we raise our game, develop our own versions of BIM to interact with the other players in the construction industry, so as we can get to market at the same time or ahead of everybody else and lead the masonry process, instead of having other factors in the construction industry lead us around or exclude us, as the case may be. Well, you know, when I was a young bricklayer, I used to say to watch good bricklayers work for a good masonry contractor was like poetry in motion. I would like us to be able to continue at that level, and when we've gone through this process, people can believe it's a joy to take us to a work site because we're so good at what we do. Well, it's very important that we get in this game, because it's up to us to take care of our sector of the business. Nobody's going to spoon feed us or walk us around by the hand. We got to get out there, educate ourselves, and promote our own facets of the industry. It's not something somebody else is going to do it for us, and if we don't do that, we're just going to be left out of the picture altogether. We need you, our masonry contractors, to get involved and help us lead this effort, so as people look to masonry when they want building solutions.
What this initiative will do for masonry contractors will allow them to engage in the BIM process for the first time. We hope to have a better product that will allow them to do estimating, scheduling, and increase their productivity in construction. We anticipate that this is going to change the way they work. It's going to allow them to build with better confidence, to give them access to real-time information, and 3D models that will allow them to understand exactly what they're building when they need it. It'll take a lot of the guesswork out of the plans and spec approach that we're currently in. We're bringing a new work method or a new work approach to getting information in their hands. We're attempting to get them model-specific information about the brick, about the mortar, about the method in which they need to install it. And we're hoping that the BIM for Masonry will be that new avenue to develop the software to allow them to do that.
It's like everything that you see on the job site in the physical sense is also there in a digital sense before the job starts, and not just the geometric information. Who supplied the materials? Has the material been ordered yet? When is it supposed to arrive on the job site? Who's responsible for its installation? How much overage of material has been ordered in case some is damaged in shipment? All of those details should be made available through the building information model so that it can be queried. And so really, it's all of the applications of BIM that you see, all of the interesting graphics, all of the takeoffs, cost estimating, but the building information model itself is underlying that. It's the data underneath it, structured in a way that is relevant to the stakeholders of the project. Well, I think owners are very interested in having a long-term record of this huge asset that they've just invested in. So think about it as the owner's manual for your car, because every building is different. Every building has a different owner's manual. And so part of the BIM model is having an electronic data record of the thing that they've just purchased for $100 million. So that's really powerful. So in terms of facilities planning and maintenance, that BIM model can be maintained and updated over the life of the building to provide a record of what the owner actually has. For the architect, the BIM model is really the method of delivery. You're certainly aware of the traditional plans and specifications that an architect delivers to a building owner that becomes the bid set for procuring a building. But we think that in the future, the architect is going to deliver a BIM model, which is a complete description of the building as the architect envisions it, And that is going to become the contractual deliverable of the architect. So the architect is building that model. And the model has sufficient information so that if you want that view of the side of the building or the plan view or the roof plan or a section at a certain point, that's a queryable thing that you can just pull out of the BIM model when you need it. And so those traditional drawings, if you will, are really extant in the BIM model. They exist, but they're there when you need them, if you need them, and along with many other views of the building, which in the traditional delivery process the architect might not have produced. So it's a more complete description of the building that the architect is delivering through BIM. At the bottom line, the mason's job is to put block and brick into the wall. And for that thing to happen, first the materials have to be there. They have to be the right materials. Perhaps they need to be cut in certain ways. Perhaps there are other accessories that have to go into the wall beforehand, such as DuraWall, ties, air barriers. And so BIM becomes on the job site a way of tracking all of that material. Where is it? When was it delivered? And making sure that the material that the mason needs is where he needs it, when he needs it. Well, I think the foreman's job is planning, and before the day starts and the masons arrive on the job site, the foreman needs to be certain that the scaffolding is in place, that safety equipment is in place, that wall bracing kind of activities for the day have been scheduled. And so BIM can be used as a planning tool for the foreman and a communication tool for individual mason crews. So if the foreman shows on the model, here's where crew 1 is working, here's where crew 2 is working, here's where crew 3 is working, and here's an image of what I expect you to get done, so let's say by lunch today, and then by the end of the day, then each of those crews is then enabled to envision the work that they need to do over the course of the day and try to reach those goals or have a discussion with the foreman on what the potential difficulties might be in certain areas of the building, for example. So I'm a structural engineer, and I've taught architects and in fact masonry for 20 years now at Georgia Tech, and it's been interesting to combine my love and interest in masonry and research more on the structural engineering side with this information project that everyone is so behind because they see it as really kind of a foundational piece for the next version of the masonry industry. And so it's been tremendous to have all of the interest and support by the masonry industry, which is quite diverse, as you know. Well, I think, it's funny, ultimately it revolves around the mason, because the mason is on a construction site putting block and brick in the wall, and at the end of the day, the masonry industry is going to be competitive because that mason is productive. That is to say that he knows where to put the block and the brick, he can do it as quickly as possible, but safe for him and for the rest of the workers on the job site. And to facilitate his work is really the whole idea behind the building information model, because at the end of the day, the mason adds value to the job by putting the building together, and the rest of us surround him by providing him the information he needs to put the brick where it belongs.